The morning air was crisp, carrying the scent of asphalt warmed by the rising sun. She gripped the handlebars of her aging bicycle, her heart pounding, not just from exertion, but from the weight of desperation. This wasn't just another interview. This was the interview, the one that could rewrite her story. Every push of the pedal was a battle against time, against the doubt whispering that she'd never make it. But she refused to listen. Failure wasn't an option. The city roared around her, cars honking, pedestrians rushing, the chaos of morning traffic unfolding like a scene from a movie.
Hello, I'm going to tell you this incredible story. Put on your headphones for a better experience and sit comfortably because you're going to be moved. Remember that to receive new stories like this, you can subscribe to the channel, like the video, and activate the notification bell. Without further ado, let's get to the rest of the story.
Sweat dripped down her temple as she weaved through the streets, dodging potholes and careless drivers. She had exactly 25 minutes. No safety net, no backup plan. Public transport was unreliable, and a taxi? Out of the question. She had barely enough money for a meal, let alone a luxury like that. It was all or nothing. She could feel the stares as she raced past office workers in tailored suits, their lives polished and put together. She didn't belong to their world. Not yet. But she would. She had no choice. Determination burned in her veins, a silent promise that she would not let this opportunity slip through her fingers. This wasn't just about a job. It was about survival. Her thighs burned with every push, her lungs screaming for air. But she didn't slow down. Not when the wind lashed against her face. Not when exhaustion threatened to consume her. This was what real perseverance looked like. No shortcuts, no easy roads, just pure, relentless effort. And deep down, she knew, success didn't come to those who waited. It came to those who chased it. As she neared her destination, the city seemed to blur around her. Her heart raced, her mind filled with silent prayers. Would they even take her seriously? Would they see past her scuffed shoes, her wind-blown hair, her modest appearance? The world wasn't kind to people like her, those who had to fight twice as hard for half the chances. But she had one shot. That's all she needed. With minutes to spare, she skidded to a stop in front of the towering glass building. Breathless, trembling, she took a deep inhale, steadying herself. This was it, the moment that could change everything. As she locked her bike, unaware of the eyes watching her from the distance, she had no idea her story had already begun to unfold in ways she couldn't imagine. Then, just as she reached the crosswalk, something caught her attention. A sleek black Rolls-Royce glided to a stop beside her. The window rolled down slowly, and in that split second, without knowing why, she felt something shift, as if fate had just taken a sudden and unexpected turn. She wiped the sweat from her forehead, her breath still uneven from the intense ride. The red light glowed ahead, forcing her to stop for the first time since she had left home. She flexed her fingers around the handlebars, trying to steady herself. Then, out of the corner of her eye, she saw it. A car so sleek, so polished, it looked almost unreal. A Rolls-Royce. A vehicle that cost more than she could ever dream of earning in a lifetime. The deep hum of the engine was almost hypnotic, a stark contrast to her own reality. An old, battered bicycle that creaked every time she pedaled. And then the window rolled down. A man sat inside, effortlessly composed, his tailored suit so perfectly cut it seemed almost molded to his frame. His gaze, sharp and unwavering, locked onto her with an intensity that made her pulse quicken. Why was he staring? She tried not to look, but curiosity gnawed at her. His face was unreadable, neither condescending nor amused, just observant, as if he saw something in her that even she didn't recognize. Was it the sweat-drenched determination? The fire in her eyes? The silent war she was fighting against circumstances that refused to be kind? She had no idea, and frankly, she had no time to figure out. She forced herself to look away, gripping the handlebars tighter. This wasn't her world. The sooner she reached her destination, the sooner she could escape this uncomfortable contrast between what she had and what she didn't. But as the light remained stubbornly red, the weight of his gaze lingered, making her skin prickle. He could have ignored her, like most people in his position would. Instead, he seemed intrigued. He studied her, not in the way someone wealthy looks at the less fortunate, but as if he was trying to piece together a puzzle. And for reasons she couldn't explain, it unsettled her. What did he see? What did it matter? She was just a woman on a bike, trying to get to an interview that could change her life. The light flickered to green, and without hesitation, she pushed forward, leaving the Rolls-Royce behind. She didn't look back. She didn't want to. Yet, as she pedaled toward her future, she couldn't shake the feeling that she hadn't seen the last of that man. That somehow, in a city of millions, their paths had crossed for a reason. Minutes later, she reached the towering entrance of the company's headquarters. She took a deep breath, straightened her posture, and walked inside, completely unaware that the man from the Rolls-Royce was already waiting for her. The elevator doors slid open with a soft chime, revealing the breathtaking grandeur of the 20th floor. She stepped out, her heart hammering against her ribs. The glossy marble floors, the floor-to-ceiling windows showcasing the city skyline. Everything about this place screamed power and prestige. And she was just a girl who had pedaled her way here on a rusty bicycle. Swallowing her nerves, she approached the receptionist, who barely spared her a glance before gesturing toward a sleek wooden door at the end of the corridor. She inhaled sharply, straightening her blouse, running a hand through her wind-tousled hair. This was it. She pushed the door open and froze. Sitting behind a massive desk was him, the man from the Rolls-Royce. The same unreadable gaze, the same impossible presence. Time seemed to stretch in that moment, her mind scrambling to make sense of what she was seeing. She had spent the entire ride here worrying about making a good impression, only to walk straight into the office of the man who had been watching her minutes ago. For a split second, panic clawed at her chest. Was this a test? A setup? Had she already lost the opportunity before she could even prove herself? She struggled to compose herself, forcing her feet to move forward. "Good morning," she managed, her voice steadier than she felt. He didn't respond right away. Instead, he leaned back, steepling his fingers, studying her like she was the most interesting thing he'd seen in years. "You're punctual," he finally said, his voice smooth but laced with something she couldn't quite place. "I assume public transport failed you this morning?" She blinked, her mind racing. What was he getting at? Was he mocking her? Testing her? Honesty felt like the only viable choice. "I couldn't afford to risk being late," she admitted. "So, I took the most reliable option." Silence. Then, something almost imperceptible flickered in his eyes. Respect? Amusement? Whatever it was, it sent a jolt of unease through her. He leaned forward, resting his elbows on the desk. "Tell me," he said, voice measured, "why should I hire you?" It was the most standard question in an interview. Yet coming from him, in this context, it felt anything but ordinary. Something told her this conversation was about to take a turn she never could have expected. She hesitated for just a second, then lifted her chin. "Because I don't make excuses," she said firmly. "Because I don't wait for opportunities, I create them." The words left her lips before she could second-guess them. The man across the desk remained silent, his expression unreadable. But something in his posture shifted, almost imperceptibly, yet undeniable. She had his attention. He tapped his fingers against the polished surface of his desk, considering her response. "You had no money for a taxi, no guarantee you'd make it here on time," he said slowly. "Yet you still came. What?" She exhaled, steadying herself. "Because I had to," she admitted. "Because I knew that if I didn't push myself, no one else would. And because success isn't given to people like me. We have to fight for it." A long pause stretched between them. Then he did something unexpected. He smiled. It wasn't a condescending smile or a polite one. It was the kind of smile that came from recognition, from understanding. He leaned forward slightly. Most people would have called in, asked to reschedule, or blamed the city's transportation, he mused. But you didn't. That's exactly the kind of person I want in my company. She barely had time to process his words before he continued. "I'm not just offering you a job," he said, his tone suddenly heavier. I'm offering you something far greater. A chance to learn, to grow, to be mentored by someone who sees potential in you. Potential you might not even see in yourself yet. Her breath caught in her throat. Was he serious? A million thoughts raced through her mind. This wasn't how interviews were supposed to go. She had expected tough questions, maybe even rejection. But this was an offer most people could only dream of. And yet, part of her hesitated. What if she wasn't ready? What if this was too big, too much? She had spent her whole life proving herself. Was she truly prepared for what came next? As if sensing her uncertainty, he added, "This isn't just about a job. It's about what you're willing to do to change your own future." His gaze locked onto hers, unwavering. "So, tell me, are you ready to take the leap?" Her heart pounded as she processed his words. A job was one thing, but mentorship? A direct chance to learn from someone who had already built an empire? It was an opportunity she had never even considered possible. And yet, doubt still whispered in the back of her mind. Was she truly capable? Could she handle the pressure of being thrown into a world so far from the one she knew? She looked at him, searching for any sign that this was some kind of test, some trick. But his expression remained steady, expectant but patient. He was offering her a path she hadn't even known existed, but he wasn't going to beg her to take it. This was her moment, and she had to be the one to decide. Did she have the courage to step into the unknown? Taking a slow breath, she thought about everything that had led her here. The sacrifices, the relentless effort, the days of wondering if she'd ever catch a break. This was her break. It wasn't neatly wrapped. It wasn't handed to her on a silver platter, but it was real. And maybe, just maybe, the version of herself she had always wanted to become was waiting on the other side of this decision. "I'm ready," she finally said, her voice steady. The moment the words left her lips, something shifted in the air between them. He nodded, as if he had known all along what her answer would be. "Good," he said simply. "Then let's begin." Just like that, the course of her life had changed forever. She had walked into this building expecting a job interview. Instead, she was walking out with a future she never imagined. And though uncertainty still lingered, it no longer felt like fear. It felt like possibility. She had always believed that success belonged to those who refused to give up, but now she understood something even more important. Success also belongs to those who dare to take the leap when opportunity knocks. As she exited the office, a flood of emotions washed over her. Relief, excitement, disbelief. This was just the beginning. She had no idea where this journey would take her, but she knew one thing for sure. She would never again doubt her own ability to create her own destiny. And somewhere, deep in her heart, she knew this was only the first chapter of a much greater story. Life has a way of testing us when we least expect it. Some people break under the weight of obstacles, while others, like her, push forward no matter what. But here's the real question. What would you have done in her place? Would you have risked being late, waiting for the right conditions? Or would you have jumped on that bicycle, determined to create your own destiny? This emotional story isn't just about luck. It's about recognizing opportunity when it knocks, even when it comes disguised as a challenge. Too often, we believe success is reserved for those who already have everything. But what if success actually belongs to those who refuse to make excuses? Think about it. Have you ever let fear stop you from chasing something bigger? I want to hear from you. What's the biggest risk you've ever taken to change your life? Drop your story in the comments. I read every single one. And if this real story inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss our next incredible story. Because trust me, you won't want to.